Hello. Today I'm going to talk something about the importance of carbohydrate because everybody thinks that carbohydrate is a villain, an enemy. I want to control. I want to go for keto diet. So you have created a scene in which carbohydrate is seen as a unwanted. It's not. I'm Dr. Balasubramanian. Today let us see something about the importance of carbohydrate and also how the organs need carbohydrate or glucose. We used to say food is a medicine if taken in required quantity, and food is a poison if taken more than required. So every food has got its own role. If you avoid one particular food, you are depriving the body of that particular food or substance. No food will harm you. If it harms, the problem is not with the food, but with us. Even if you say that you are allergic to a particular food, you are only allergic to the food, but the food is a food. That is why you avoid it. You cannot ask everyone to avoid it just because you are allergic to a particular food. Even if you say food poisoning, it is not the food which is poison, but the food is contaminated with some organisms. And that is why that food becomes a poison or a toxin. So every type of food is essential for the survival of. We all need it, and every cell of an organ needs it. For energy, for growth, for repair, for production of hormones, cell wall synthesis, antibodies production, immunity, all these things they require food in some form. When I say food, I mean macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients, you say carbohydrate, protein, fat. Micronutrients, which the body requires in very small, negligible quantities. That is why it is called micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, etc. And finally, you have one more thing, water. That is also included as a food. So carbohydrate, protein, fat, vitamins, minerals, and water. These six, you call them as food. In these macronutrients, only the carbohydrate or glucose level is maintained every minute, every second, a balance. It shouldn't go below a level. It shouldn't go beyond a level. A fine tuning is going on always within our body, not with the protein and fat. Because every minute the requirement of carbohydrate by the cells changes depending upon the activity you do, either physical activity or mental activity. So the maintenance of blood glucose level is very important for the survival of the cells as well as functioning of the cells. That is why it is controlled by two hormones secreted by one organ, namely the pancreas. One hormone increases the blood sugar level if it goes down. The other hormone reduces the blood sugar level when it goes up. So two opposite actions, one organ secretes them. One is called the glucagon, the other one is called insulin. Glucagon increases the sugar level when the glucose level goes down, and insulin will reduce the glucose level when the glucose level is going up. All these food can be good or bad. Our body knows how to handle each, and it maintains the level of each within normal limits or a range. So based on the requirement, anything excess will be excreted and anything less will be retained. If the requirement increases, the body will increase the absorption, and if you have more than required, the excess will be excreted. This is how the body tries to maintain every substance, every food in our body. A simple example is water. In winter, you don't take much water, no thirsty, and you pass more urine. Why? The body feels that I have excess water inside, so I want to get it out. In what way? Through urine. In a summer, you sweat a lot, you lose water, You lose sodium, you lose electrolytes, everything goes out of our body. So the body feels that I have to preserve some water, I have to conserve some water, and I have to retain some water. So you don't pass urine much during summer. Just imagine. This is also done by hormones only inside. So the body knows how to save and how to send out things. It can maintain, it can manage. And this process of maintaining an equilibrium inside, you call it homeostasis. Well, these values are in a range I told you. They are not absolute number. If I say the range, it may be from 10 to 15. 10 is also acceptable. 15 is also acceptable. 10 is the lower normal. 15 is the upper normal. So within this range, it can switch, it can fluctuate these ranges. If the values are sustained, either low or high, then you call it as a disease or disorder. For example, your blood pressure. The normal blood pressure is around 120 millimeter by 80 millimeter of mercury. Plus or minus 10 is acceptable. There will be fluctuations, there will be changes. When you are angry, when you are doing exercise, when you are climbing stairs, the blood pressure will increase. Once you take rest, it will come down. Even if at rest the blood pressure is increased, then you call it as a high blood pressure or hypertension. So the body can do a lot of compensatory mechanisms to maintain the internal equilibrium or balance. Why I am telling? The same goes with the carbohydrate also. The body knows how to handle the carbohydrate. For that, there are many things which is going on inside, especially the hormones. As I told you, the glucagon and insulin. Just because there is lack of these hormones doesn't mean you should avoid glucose or avoid carbohydrate. One simple example I can tell you when I talk about the importance of carbohydrate. Just imagine a person who is running, who is playing football. Suddenly he feels so much tired, exhausted, and he's just falling down. What you do? Immediately you take a tumbler of water and you take some glucose, dissolve it, and give it to him. If possible, you can add some lemon, and you give. You don't give a piece of meat, chicken piece or mutton piece, and you don't give 1 teaspoon of ghee. What I mean to tell is the glucose you give is an immediate source of energy for that person. So you are giving only glucose solution, not a protein or a fat in the form of a meat or ghee. No, I think you will accept the importance of carbohydrate. So carbohydrates, the sugar, is not our enemy. We all need it. Even every person who talks about any type of diet, they advise you should take at least 60% of carbohydrate in our food. They don't say totally avoid carbohydrate. It means what? Our body requires carbohydrate. It's not wise to avoid carbohydrate. The problem is not with the carbohydrate. If the problem is with the carbohydrate, you can avoid it. But the problem is with us. Our body does not know how to handle sugar or carbohydrate. It doesn't know how to maintain a proper level. That is a problem. Why we give this much of importance to carbohydrate? Why we are not talking much about the protein or fat or cholesterol? We need all this protein, fat, and cholesterol, everything. But the value of carbohydrate changes every minute, every second. And any deviation from this range, you'll get a problem. Every second or every minute, you may get a problem if the level is not maintained. Food and activity all decide this level. Every minute, every organ needs this carbohydrate for their function. But protein and fat are not like that. In fact, the cells which manufacture protein, in fact, they also need carbohydrate for their function. Now you know the importance of carbohydrates. So it is very important to maintain the level of carbohydrate or glucose level. And that is why we have two hormones, as I said, the glucagon and the insulin. One to raise the sugar level, another to reduce the sugar level so that the level can be maintained. Just how this fine tuning takes place. Why this fine tuning? Because it is very important for us for energy production. It is an immediate source of energy for every cell. Every cell loves carbohydrate, not protein and fat. They love. And every cell accepts this glucose, allows this glucose to enter into the cell very easily because the glucose is the functional unit of this carbohydrate. The final, simple, single, slim unit glucose. That is why the cells love glucose actually. So you can restrict carbohydrate. You cannot avoid carbohydrate. The quantity you can reduce. If the body does not know how to handle carbohydrate or glucose, then however less you take will be more for that person. That is for sure. If it knows how to handle carbohydrate and glucose, how to store the extra carbohydrate or glucose, and how to utilize it when need arises, then whatever quantity you take, it's not a matter. The body can handle it. Even you can take half a kg of sweets. The body knows how to reduce the level and how to save the extra sugar. If excess carbohydrate, the body will store it and it can be used when you fast or when you delay taking food or in between meals. And one important thing many people do not know is if you take very less carbohydrate, if you deprive the body of carbohydrate, the body will try to convert other food into carbohydrate. How? It can make glucose from protein or fat and convert them into glucose. This process we call it neoglucogenesis. This proves the importance of carbohydrates. And even if you avoid carbohydrate, even you prevent carbohydrate from entering into your body, the body knows how to manufacture sugar from other substances. So you cannot cheat our body. Why the body converts this protein, fat, etc. into carbohydrate? Because a very simple reason. Some of the organs, they prefer glucose than other substances for their energy production. Two important organs. One is the brain. It needs continuous supply of glucose. It cannot accept other substances for energy. And the red blood cells, they also need, they prefer only glucose for their energy production. Glucose is a fuel for brain as well as red blood cells. Now let us see how brain is dependent on glucose. Even during sleep, the brain depends on a continuous supply of glucose from the bloodstream. If you take brain, it is only 2% of our body weight, but it consumes 20% of the total glucose which we consume every day. A normal adult usually takes around 200 grams of glucose per day. In this two-thirds, around 130 grams, the brain takes for its use. If there is a short-term dip in the glucose availability, then some of the cognitive functions are impaired. If the glucose supply to brain is a little bit reduced, then you will have problem in focusing, attention, memory, learning, all these things you will suffer. And during extended periods of starvation only, the brain tries to go for fat and very extreme circumstances. And The brain competes for glucose with other organs. It will not allow other organs to use. It will fight and get the lion's share. The brain will try to take away glucose from other organs. It will not allow other organs to use glucose. Only if something is left out, other organs should use. This is something like a boss. That's why taking a break first can help improve mental performance by boosting the ability in memory and attention related tasks. A glucose drink significantly improves a long term verbal memory and long term spatial memory. Now, what happens to the storage form of glucose? If excess, the glucose is stored in liver and muscle. And why this stored? The body needs it the whole day. So if you skip a meal, this stored sugar in the form of glycogen, it will be converted into glucose and it will be sent to the blood. The blood will take this so that the organs will be continuously supplied glucose. If you take the muscle, it stores about 500 grams of glycogen. If you take the liver, it stores about 100 grams of glycogen only. When need arises, the muscle is a selfish muscle. It will not give this glycogen to other organs. Even though it has got 500 grams of glycogen, it will not give. But the liver has got only 100 grams of glycogen. It will give. Immediately it will donate that glycogen and it will be taken as a glucose and for the maintenance of blood sugar level, blood glucose level. But the muscle will not give this 500 grams just because the muscle needs this glucose because it is the one which contracts and relaxes during our activities, walking, running, all these things, exercise. The blood sugar is normal. The glycogen, liver glycogen is filled 100 grams and the muscle, it has taken 500 grams. Only after that, if apart from this, after all this storage form glucose is filled, if there is excess glucose, it will be converted into triglycerides, a form of fat. So the glycogen stored in the muscle are crucial for the body movement. And if that glycogen is completely converted, then what will happen? You will have severe loss of muscle mass. So consuming a little bit of carbohydrate is very essential. One way to prevent this starvation related loss of muscle mass. And only because of this muscle glycogen, it helps in the performance of an athlete. Athletes require carbohydrate, glucose. That is why there are carbohydrate electrolyte solutions as a part of energy gels for sports people. They are allowed to take so that the fatigue is delayed, improves athletic performance, increases muscle mass. Imagine how this carbohydrates plays a crucial role in maintaining muscle mass and strength, endurance. So this is the brain, the red blood cells, the muscles, all these require this carbohydrate. The next is the digestive health. Carbohydrate is very important for digestive health. Dietary fiber, plant-derived food, which cannot be completely broken down by human digestive enzymes. This plays a very important role in the digestive system. How? There are two types of fibers which belong to this carbohydrate group. One is soluble and second is insoluble. These fibers help in the improve the stool consistency, increase the bowel movement frequency in those which are people who are having constipation, and it reduces the straining and the pain associated with the bowel movements. These are the functions of soluble fiber. Insoluble fiber, this also helps in constipating people. This soluble fiber passes through the small intestine, binds to bile acids, and prevents them from being reabsorbed. And it has been proved a type of fiber supplement called psyllium, when it is taken in long term, it it has a power to reduce a bad cholesterol, namely LDL. And these things are sometimes used in weight reduction also, which absorbs water and gives a fullness, a feeling of fullness stomach. So it can be used for weight reduction also. So remember, these are the important functions of carbohydrate, and our brain, RBCs, muscles, all these, they need glucose or carbohydrate badly for proper functioning. Now tell me, what is the use of, or is there any rationale of cutting the carbohydrate, avoiding carbohydrate fully, and going for keto diet and all? And is it not punishing your own body for not because of the fault of the food, but because of your body's fault? You are punishing carbohydrate. You are depriving your body of carbohydrate. Is it not a punishment? You punish your own body. So think judiciously and try to take at least 50 to 60% of carbohydrate. Include carbohydrate in your diet plan. Try to use it properly. Don't try to avoid it. We'll see in the next video. Thank you.